Hi, everybody. We're recording. I'm never sure when I press that button over there if it's recording or not. And I always have this nightmare that I didn't hit it and we're going to do this wonderful interview and then it's not there.
So it looks like it's recording on my end.
Then we're good.
Yeah.
So welcome to Conversations with Calvin, We the Species. This today has been a long time setting up. And I'm with Jeff Durr from RU Financial. And the topic in headlines of this conversation is women in finance. And there's some really interesting things that we're going to discover about the whole concept of women in finance, because Jeff is in finance. So that is going to be the essence of this particular conversation. And I don't get paid to plug LinkedIn, but it's through the intricacies and synchronicities and the commonalities of LinkedIn that Jeff and I got together, and then we found other commonalities. And I'm done with my intro. So Jeff, why don't you say hello and do a little bio, and then we'll kind of jump into.
Sure. Well, Calvin, it's a pleasure to be here with you. And like you said before, we were connected through LinkedIn, which is one of the things that both of us enjoy being part of. And through joint connections, we are able to see each other, meet each other, and here we are today. But the idea of women in finance is it's an important thing for us as a firm. We are looking for the right type of people, women who have strong personalities, who really want to make an impact in other people's lives, and be in a business that they can call their own. So it's a unique situation and a great position for someone to be in. As far as myself, I'm born and bred in New Jersey, and I grew up in Caldwell, not too far from Rutgers. And I have a story to tell you about, I wanted to go to Rutgers, but things didn't work out that way. And I went to the University of Maine, and I majored in psychology. And I played varsity football there, had a great time. And by no means did I think I was going to be in the financial industry, when I graduated. But there's a whole story behind that as well. But I've been in the industry now for, I'm going on my 33rd year.
Wow.
Of being in the financial industry. Came into it right out of college in 1988. So it's been quite some time. But when I was in high school and in college, my thought was I was going to be a guidance counselor in high school. That was the plan.
Wow.
As well as a football coach. That was the plan, because my high school football coach was extremely influential in my life. And if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't have gone on to play football, in college. And once I got to college, my two position coaches, the one who brought me there, and then another one who came afterwards, if it wasn't for those two men, I wouldn't be where I'm at today.
Wow.
And they were very, very influential. So I thought being, in the sporting world, right, and being a high school guidance counselor, I could go back and give back to the young men and women in the high school and college world and impact their lives like they impacted mine and help them, in their future. But it didn't work out that way. And somewhere along the line, somebody tapped me on the shoulder when I got out of college and said, you should be in the financial world. And I kind of looked at them funny, because I used to kid around and say, listen, I majored in football, but I got a degree in psychology as a joke. But then when they say, well, I say the financial world, I said, without a calculator, sometimes I can't even add, let alone be in the financial world. Like, kind of kidding around. And they're like, well, that has nothing to do with it. It's not your education. It's your personality, your drive, your willingness to help other people. And that's where I got impact other people's lives forever. They said, that's what you do in the financial world. So I said, that sounds pretty neat. Let's learn more about it. And I went into the interview process of multiple financial companies. And I came across one company who started to tell me all the things I wanted to hear. You know, if you want to coach, we have a very independent schedule that you can go out and coach, do the things, you know, once you're up and running. If you want to impact other people's lives, you can work with parents and help them get their kids through, save money and plan for education. And if you want to be a leader and build a team, you can get involved with management in the financial world and build and grow your own organization and impact their lives so that they can go out and impact many other people's lives. So when I heard that story, Calvin, I'm like, I'm in. I don't know what you guys really do yet, but I'm ready to do that because all the things I want to do, it sounds like I can do that in your business. So June 1st, 1988 was my first day on the job.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a long history there. But that's how I got into it.
Wow, so interesting. You know, this is completely off topic, and it's to praise, and in a small way, I have to express this, but you know, people don't think of things far ahead of time, and because my wife and I had some decent financial planning. And people don't. I don't know what it is with young people, kids in college, and the whole notion of financial planning is a million miles away. And I don't know if I'm telling you so. Of course, you know that.
Oh, yeah.
But, I'm just saying, in my own way, the world that we're living in now, if we didn't have guidance,
yeah,
and a lot of this guidance didn't come early when it should have.
No.
So your world is so key.
Yeah.
And people just don't, you know, think about that. I don't think they think about final resting places, things like that, you know. But it's so, you know, the whole notion of financial planning, which became more part of our lives years ago, has put us in a place. So what you do is so vital.
It's important. Well, Calvin, to that point, there's two stories I typically tell to exactly what you're talking about. I meet a lot of people who are in their 50s, right? And they usually are in one of two stories. One of them, they'll start to say, you know what, I'm 55. I don't have enough of this. I haven't planned for that. I haven't done this. I'm not ready for that. I don't know what to do, right? Then I meet the other people in their 40s who say, in their 50s, 55 and up, and say, you know what, I have this. I planned for that. Like you just said, I've taken care of this. I'm in a good position. And those are typically the ones who say, you know what, I started doing this when I was in my 20s. The ones who get to 55 and up who haven't had all that done are the ones who always say, I wish I would have started doing this when I was in my 20s. You know, so to get the message across to the younger generation now, it's so important because when they're 22 to 25, they can't see 40 years.
Correct.
They're too worried about the weekend.
Correct.
So it's very important.
Yeah, it sure is. Well, we're going to talk about. So I guess next logically is for you to talk about Are You Financial, and kind of describe it and put some.
Yeah, it's a great story to tell. I'm very proud of it, Calvin. But it wasn't part of the plan. It kind of just happened, right? About 10 years ago, I've always tried, I'm very partial to college athletes, men or women, you know, just because I know the effort they put in. And I always wanted to recruit and talk to the Rutgers athletes, right? Now, Are You Financial? The actual name is Are You Financially Strong, right? We're not affiliated with Rutgers. We do a lot of work over there, which I'll get to in a second. But we go by Are You Financial? And about 10 years ago, I was introduced to somebody, just like you and I were introduced. I was introduced to somebody who was affiliated with the Rutgers athletic program. And they were building a new program to help educate the athletes on different types of topics and concerns. And we met and we talked about one of the programs I put together was financial literacy for college athletes. So it was perfect. I ended up speaking to the football team, which was a lot of fun. And then as time went on, they started to ask me to come back to work with how to interview, help the kids interview, do mock interviews. I was on career panels, all kinds of things in the athletic program, which was great. So I was able to impact the student athletes at Rutgers. But then as one or two meetings would progress, then a professor from the business school happened to be there. And they said, boy, these ideas will probably be helpful to the students in the business school. Can you come give the speech to those guys or the talk? I said, sure, no problem. So I started spending some time as a guest lecturer in the business school over at Rutgers, and I would bring my team over there too, and we would talk about different finance-related topics. And the years started to go by, and we were impacting the students over there. But then somebody from the pharmacy school happened to get word of it and said, can you come over to the pharmacy school and speak to the students over there? So sure, I'm not going to say no. I'm like, this is great. The more people we can speak to and help and impact, the better. So we started speaking to the pharmacy school students. And at the end of one of the sessions with the pharmacy school students, one of the professors said, this is great for the students, but I think the professors could use some help too. Can you talk to and work with us? And we're like, of course, we'd love to. So that's where the aha went off, right? And what happened was, as we started to work with more of the professors, we found a common theme, a common problem or roadblock that many of them were having. It was on the New Jersey state pension system. We have nothing to do with it, right? We're not part of it. We don't make any recommendations on it. But we found out that many of the professors weren't comfortable with how to make the right choices. What were the providers? How does it work? How much money do they put in? Does the school put in? It was a very convoluted, complicated system. And they started asking us, can we help them figure that out? So that's where the big aha went off, where now there's 30,000 Rutgers faculty and staff members, give or take, in the school. How can we help them? How can we impact them along with helping the students, right? As well as educating the students. Well, how can we impact the professors? So that's how that started. Mm-hmm. And next thing you know, we're getting referred in to speak to many hundreds of professors at Rutgers now, as well as every year I'm back on campus speaking to the athletes. Then my ultimate goal, my greedy side, if we look for a greedy side, is what I call it, is how many athletes or Rutgers students can we hire? If I call that a greedy side. I want to hire them. I want to bring them in onto our team. I want them to be part of our organization. That's my way of giving back to the school, as well as how can I tap someone on the shoulder and say, you can work at our firm. So over the last 10 years, Calvin, we spent time, working in the athletic department. We've spent time working in the traditional different student areas, as well as the faculty and staff, educating them on financial literacy and issues, concerns, as well as what's going on in their own personal financial world. And that's where we're at today.
Okay. Now we take a deep breath and we address the main headline in this video title, Women in Finance. So why, we talked about this before we went on air, why is finance such a special opportunity for women in business? And I guess the stat is 95% of the financial world is men.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why is that at this stage of our lives, approaching 2021?
Right. Well, I think, Calvin, the reason why it's 95% male dominated is because part of the startup, what it takes to come into this business. Not that men are any better at it. Trust me, I'm not saying they are. It's just the traditional lifestyle of the average family, right? It's tough for the married wife to leave the household for 50 to 60 hours a week to start an entrepreneurial job if there's going to be children involved. right? Traditionally, what we see is that, you know, if it's financially feasible, the mother stays home to take care of the kids. So to come into this industry with 2 children at home, or 1 child, or 5 children, it's difficult because the amount of time it takes. Because this is an entrepreneurial job, Calvin. Like I said before, it's 50, sometimes 60 hours a week. And you're on the go to build and to grow and to develop your career. It's not like you see these other part-time things like the pampered chefs and those kind of stuff. It's not, I mean, this is a career. It's not a part-time thing to do for a couple of dollars. This is for someone who's looking to build, you know, a substantial income, a substantial career. But it's for those who want to impact other people's lives too. That's the hook. That is really what we do. And when we find the right people, male or female, who have that same desire, Calvin, to help other people, you know, it's a win-win. You know, and there's 3 things that we say that we look for in a person is courage. Do they have the courage to go outside their comfort zone to be in this business? And from what I see from women they're extremely courageous across the board with some of the things many of them have accomplished and are willing to do. For example, becoming a mother. You know, you need to be very courageous to become a mother. And then we look for somebody who's coachable. Are they coachable? Are they willing to listen? Are they willing to learn? Right? And then the last thing is the work ethic. Do they have the work ethic of what it takes to be entrepreneurial, to build a business? It's not a 9-to-5 job. This is a job where the hours could be kind of crazy in the beginning. So do they have the work ethic and the discipline and the commitment to stick to the plan? But as far as looking for women, we struggle. I'll be the first one to admit it. We struggle trying to find, you know, women who want to come into our industry. But the women that we do have in our firm, Calvin, they are phenomenal. They do an outstanding job. And some of them started out as college kids, college grads, became mothers, got married, became mothers, you know, and continued to grow and to develop. But there's been other ones that we've hired that due to the family responsibilities and requirements, they would have to leave to be home to take care of the children. So it was a struggle for them. So this position, this field is really a phenomenal spot for what I would call a back to work mother, you know, a back to work mom who maybe the kids are 13, 14, 18, I don't know, out of the house or not out of the house, but, you know, not as dependent on their parents anymore. And the moms who had a career prior to having children now want to get back into the professional corporate workforce, but they don't want that 9-to-5 corporate job where they're stuck to a desk. They're looking for something with some independence where they can run their own schedule. They can control their own income. They can work as much as they want, as often as they want, and earn as much as they want. You know, but the biggest thing, Calvin, is they can impact, I know I said this before, but they can impact other people's lives.
Really
and change their lives forever, financially.
Yep, really impact. So it's a whole, you know, it's funny as I'm listening to you describing what it takes and why there aren't a lot of women and with the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I jumped in to gather up as much as I could gather up about her life and this issue. She was such a pioneer in changing the gender equality laws because the notions that you just described were so powerful, and so many laws back in the 50s and beyond were written with the whole notion of a woman being at home,
yeah,
and being the caregiver at home. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg, her whole focus was that first case was a man was a caretaker doing the work of a woman, and he was denied the opportunity to get a caretaker's deduction.
Right.
And he was a man. And because all the laws never explored the idea of a woman getting out of the house. And it was Ruth Bader Ginsburg who came along and helped to change that whole notion. And that's what you're describing.
Right.
Right. And that's what I'm thinking about it. And then, of course, there's a tie into Rutgers because she was able to do what she did because she was a professor at Rutgers Law School. I had to get that plugged in.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So this all makes so much sense. What you're talking about, the opportunity.
Yeah.
So to take a little bit of a deep breath, because this has been a little on the heavy side, I want to go off topic a little bit.
Sure.
And throw something at you in the sports world parlance. I'm going to throw you a little bit of a curveball at you. How to get sports in there. So anyway, I always like to ask this, and here it is. Excluding a family or friends, somebody living or dead that you'd like to spend a day with during the pandemic.
In the sports world?
No, any world. It's just anybody. I mean, you can pick one or two, whatever. It's just somebody you'd like to spend a day with. No family, friends.
Well, you know what? I've over the last, let's say, 10 years of my life, Calvin, I've become an avid reader. And I read a lot on the motivational side, self-help side. And there's a couple of authors who I've connected with that if I could spend a day with them would be phenomenal. One is John Gordon. Have you ever heard of John Gordon?
No, I haven't.
And he's written a whole slew of books. I'll see if I have one on my shelf over here. But the other one is Darren Hardy. And the one book that I read that most recently from him is The Compounding Effect, which, you know, the two of them are phenomenal authors, motivational type speakers, and just I've spent a month with them. I could.
Okay, that's great. All right, moving on. So here's the scenario. I'm a woman. And you may have touched on this a little bit, but maybe go a little bit more into it. So I'm a woman. Talk about the realities of starting out and the 3 to 5 months of amazing sacrifice that's needed. And does it work? I mean, in the real world, I mean, it's a lot of sacrifice. So just give a picture of what it would be to start out.
Yeah. To start out in this business, again, it's just like opening up your own business. The difference is you don't do it by yourself. I always say we literally hold your hand until you're ready to let go. But in the beginning, it takes about, 3 to 5 months to get the momentum going, meaning you have to get licensed to do what we do. There's a number of licenses you have to pass. Then you have to get the advertising out. You have to start reaching out to people. You have to start shaking hands with people. You have to start getting the first meeting, the second meeting, and then they become clients over time. So it takes about 3 to 5 months to get that momentum going. And the example that I use all the time, Calvin, it's like a locomotive, right? To get a locomotive going, man, it takes a lot of energy. And it starts out really slow and it gets going. But once it gets up to full steam and full speed, you can't stop it. It just takes a life of its own. And saying that's how our business works. Once you get it up and running and you got the momentum going, you're like your own locomotive and you can't stop. It just continues to grow and to develop. But those first 3 to 5 months, it's sacrifice. It's time, it's effort, it's energy, and there's no money coming in the beginning.
Yes.
The challenge. That is the challenge, But if people have the ability to overcome and jump over those hurdles and continue to persevere and push through, their financial future is very, very bright, very bright.
You gave that analogy. I use the analogy all the time when you're trying to talk about energy and commitment and dedication. I talk about a rocket ship when it's launched.
Mm-hmm.
To lift that rocket ship just 1 foot off the launching pad requires more energy than the rest of the trip just to get it up like 1 foot. It's the same thing as you said. So Uh, if you could elaborate on this, it's like a U.S. It's like the U.S. Marines slogan. Looking, your slogan could be like the U.S. Marines. You're looking for a few good women.
Yeah. Well, that is so true, Calvin. Is there's a certain type of woman that will succeed in this business. Like I said before, courageous, coachable, work ethic. But we're looking for leaders. We're looking for women who want to be leaders in the firm, who want to be leaders amongst the team, who want to be leaders amongst other women, and want to help us build and grow the organization, and hire and attract, additional women into the firm to grow and to develop them. And I think leadership it can be taught as well as you're born with it, but sometimes people don't know they have it until they're told. For example, if I go back to myself, 30 something years ago, I had no idea about this business. So somebody just tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, this is something you should think about. So if I can get the opportunity just to talk to as many young women or back to work moms, there's no real age limit, about this opportunity, and maybe it is the right fit for them. I mean, we're not right for everybody. Nobody is. But I'd love to have the opportunity to speak to those who have that desire to be in the financial related world and change other people's lives forever financially.
This part of it has been fabulous. I as I mentioned, I'm on the Women's Health Institute at Rutgers Robert Wood Johnson Medical School. I'm on the advisory committee. So these issues are so important to me, and I've been thrilled on this whole journey of having met you and listening to this and uncovering this great opportunity. And for me, it's like, wow, we're 95% men, and there's so much opportunity here. And you're addressing that, and I think that's great. So as we kind of wind down, I have a burning question to ask you, because we've talked about this. How did you, Jeff Durr, become such a huge Rutgers football fan?
That's a long story, Calvin, but I'll tell you a short version.
Okay.
When I was in high school, I was recruited by a lot of schools, smaller schools, to play college football. But Rutgers is where I wanted to go. Now, Rutgers wasn't that good at the time, okay? And I had this notion, instead of saying notion, how about ego? I had this ego that, hey, if you would just take me, I can help turn this program around.
Wow.
I could help you guys win.
Wow.
That was my ego.
Wow.
Well, Rutgers at that time, guess what? They didn't want me, so I wasn't the right fit. That's okay. I wasn't the right fit for them, what they were looking for at that time. I was probably a little bit too small, whatever it may be, but I wanted to go there so bad. But I didn't go in that direction. But because of that, though, I was always a fan, born in New Jersey, bred in New Jersey, watching Rutgers football all these years. And when I went to school, came out of college, and I just continued to follow the school, follow the team. I know some guys that have played for over the last 10, 15, 20, 30 years who have played there. And my daughter went there, so I didn't hold a grudge. Hey, my daughter, I'm like, they didn't want me, but hey, I wanted my daughter to go there because, she wanted to be something local. She wanted a big school and she wanted a football program. I said, well, let's go to Rutgers. It'd be perfect, and, that's how it started. And that's where I got connected with the school. But, 30 something years later, I'm still a raving fan of the school. I support them. I go to the games. I just want to see them succeed and win. And all the sports, not just the football team, but all sports as well. Sure. And, we've had interns from the football team. We've had interns from the wrestling team is joining us this year, or I had someone from the rowing team for a little bit. So the women's rowing team. So we're looking to, to attract as many college athletes as we can from all sports. But I think I was born a New Jersey guy. I was born a Rutgers fan, and I think I'll always be a Rutgers fan forever.
Perfect. Well, same here. We talk about this a lot. Our passion for Rutgers and how it comes out and the energy. So we've done good, Jeff. And just one last passing question to ask you. It's a Calvin cerebral question. If you could fill in the blank to this question, don't get scared.
Okay.
So
make it a hard one.
It's a little hard. Why not? So anyway, before I leave this earth, it's heavy. Before I leave this earth, I won't be satisfied until I blank.
Well, that's a really good one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I think this is, I don't have a specific definite answer to that, but I'll give you one that kind of is broad.
Sure.
Before I leave this earth, I want to impact as many people's lives as I can and change it forever financially.
Perfect.
That's the goal.
Perfect. That sums up our whole time together. And it's a great question because it kind of puts everything together and what you've been talking about. So we're closing, and I cannot thank you enough for your time and your passion and your energy to spend some time here this morning doing this, Jeff. And I'm so thrilled I met you. We're going to spread the word because this is such a noble, wonderful cause, what you're doing. And I'm such a huge fan of what you do. And I'm kind of I'm not a poster boy, but wow, would I tell young people that there's no better time than right now to start thinking about this stuff.
Yeah.
Because what happens one day you wake up and you just got your first notification from AARP.
Right.
I remember that day.
Yeah.
By the way, it was a long time ago. I remember that first. It was like one of the biggest. It was this movie Moonstruck with Cher and Nicolas Cage. One of the great scenes, and you bet, when she slaps him in the face. One of the great scenes. It's right underneath Rhett Butler. Saying, "Franklin, my dear, I don't give a damn." Snap out of it. Well, when I got that thing from AARP, it was a slap in the face. Snap out of it. I'm there.
Yeah. It's a big wake-up call.
Yeah, it's a big wake-up call. So what you're doing is a big wake-up call, and it's so critical and essential. So anyway, I thank you so much. I wish you a healthy New Year, because this all fits in.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Calvin. This has been a great experience for me. And the more people we can reach out to and talk to and touch and communicate with, and like I said, become their financial superheroes, and change their lives forever.
Yeah.
The more excited I get about doing what we do every day. And I wish you and all your readers and followers and listeners, a happy holiday season. And thank you for what you do, because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be sitting here.
Well, I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. I'm trying to find a little place for myself in my quote senior years. So thank you, Jeff. Happy, healthy, and to be continued.
Same to you, Calvin.
Okay, you be well.